Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. Now, before we get into it, Spare is still holding on to the #1 spot on the New York Times bestseller list, still #1 audiobook, and still #1 nonfiction book on Amazon. So, congratulations to Prince Harry once again. Now, the will they, won't they attend the coronation is still ongoing. Personally, I can't wait until the coronation is over so we can move on from this conversation entirely. But Gail did an interview with Oprah, and she had to ask. And Oprah had this to say.
It's been reported that Harry and Meghan have received an invitation to the coronation. Do you think they should go? Do you think they should not go? Is it something you'd like to comment on? I'm listening.
I think they should do what they feel is best for them and for their family. That's what I think. That's what the bottom line, it comes down to. What do you feel like is the right thing for you?
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't asked me.
Now, since Charles has become king, there's been an uptick in protests and egging. I believe it's been twice now, 2 or 3 times, since Charles and Camilla has had eggs thrown at them when doing their little visits. And in a lot of the visits recently, there has been protests, especially from the group, I believe it's called the Republic, and they'll have these huge yellow signs saying, "Not my king." And we've been seeing a lot of those happening lately. We've never seen so many protests for Queen Elizabeth, but Charles, oh, they're coming for him. In this past week, while attending the Commonwealth Day service, Charles and the rest of the senior working royals were treated to protests. Again, the Not My King crowd showed up gung-ho with a couple of other pretty hilarious signs as well. One of them even gave a nod to Spare or Prince Harry. So that was fun. And interestingly enough, the boos were not just directed at Charles and Camilla's car, but Sophie and Edward was there, and her husband was there, as well as William and Kate. And when you look at the video, each time a couple left their car to go into the service, they would boo. Now, of course, Charles and Camilla got the loudest boos. Now, while Charles and Camilla's boos were most certainly the loudest, the protesters made sure that William and Kate knew exactly what they thought, or specifically William. About you guys, but I find it very interesting that the media would talk about Charles getting booed, but we haven't really seen coverage of the very same set of protesters booing William and telling him, "Not my king," as well. Hasn't really been talked about in the media. I don't see it here in the US, and I haven't really seen anybody sharing articles written about the protests that were directed towards William. So again, we see William being protected by his friends in the tabloids.
Some potentially worrying signs, I think, for the new king as he prepares for his coronation in just a few weeks' time. Once again met by protesters from this anti-monarchist group called Republic. This time they were outside Westminster Abbey as King Charles arrived for his first Commonwealth Day service as monarch and head of the Commonwealth. And the protests are still relatively small, but I think represent a drop in support for the monarchy and relatively low approval rates for Charles, especially compared to his late mother. Now, they've followed the king to recent engagements, and they say they're getting ready for their biggest protest yet on the day of the coronation. Their mission is to see the monarchy abolished, and they want the king replaced with an elected democratic head of state. Protests against the late Queen, of course, were extremely rare, whereas Charles has even had eggs hurled at him. I think while many Brits are still going to support his coronation here in a few weeks' time, questions are going to be asked about holding a lavish, expensive ceremony when so many in Britain are in the midst of a cost of living crisis.
Now, during the event, there were some performers right before they entered the church, and Camilla just walked on by. Now, some people say, well, you know, it was windy and she was holding her hat, but come on now. How incredibly rude. And this is not the first time that Camilla has been rude when Indigenous people are performing for them. Never forget, her and Charles were at the receiving end of much criticism years ago when they proceeded to laugh while these people were doing a very sacred performance for them. This, again, is just very on brand for Camilla, very dismissive and condescending to cultures that are not her own, about people and things that are not within her understanding or appreciation or her culture. How disappointing that she couldn't even pretend to stand there for a couple of seconds and smile and listen and entertain. And then they wonder why so many of these nations within the Commonwealth are ready to cut ties with the British monarch entirely. The institution and those at the top of the food chain in the institution is archaic and not willing to change with the times. They're very disrespectful and dismissive to other cultures. What an absolute mess. Now, Prince Harry is also in the news for his current legal woes with the UK tabloids concerning, well, two different cases. So you have the one concerning the really nasty story that they had written, basically lying about Harry's situation with the security. That is currently ongoing. So maybe that case will be wrapped up and then the next video we'll see how that goes. But there's also the other case, which a lot of people are ready to pay attention to and see how that turns out, is between Harry, and it includes Piers Morgan. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am excited for that. I'm more excited for that case than for the coronation, honestly. And I believe that case is about a day or two after the coronation, so you never know. Harry's definitely going to be in the UK around that time. Maybe he'll be there for the coronation and for the court date because he's said to be a witness. Or maybe he'll just show up to do his legal issues and skip the coronation altogether. We shall see. But Piers has long been obsessed with Princess Diana and with Prince Harry as well.
Mr. Morgan, why can't you simply leave Prince Harry alone?
We do leave Prince Harry alone. That's my fundamental point about this. We have left him alone the entire year.
I don't know, like, he's been obsessed with Harry for years, and he's also been obsessed with Meghan for years. During her Suits years, you can go back, or some people have archived all of the tweet exchanges that Piers has written about Meghan. So I feel like the relationship between Harry and Meghan is the trifecta of his obsession. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little wall in his office or den or attic where he has photos of Harry and Meghan, because he definitely gives that obsessive, creepy stalker vibe. And I'm not the only one who says that or thinks that. I mean, there has been art pieces created. I believe it's Cold War, Steve. I'll double check and see, but there was a piece basically showing Piers in a room surrounded by photos of Meghan, and it was rather creepy. Creepier still because, you know, it's a possibility that's a thing for him. That man is cuckoo.
I've been seeing multiple articles about King Charles's up-and-coming coronation in the news. Still a bit difficult getting used to saying King Charles without the word spaniel behind it, but that's another issue entirely. As I was intentionally ignoring this news, a thought occurred to me. He is just ghetto rebranded. Hear me out. Literally marrying your cousin. Ghetto. It's giving Tampa. It's giving lots of Uncle Daddy situations. Hiding your brother from the police. Ghetto. Living off public assistance. Ghetto. Stealing resources from others. Ghetto. Colonialism by any other name. But as some of you stand upon the precipice of celebrating something that has no political purpose, just remember that the British monarchy is looking real makeshift right now. Thank you, Meghan.
Combining blackness and redheadedness, that's a tough one. The only people to do it successfully were Harry and Meghan and Ice Spice.
So let's talk about Spare. I'm super close to being done talking about this. I know in each video I've made about Spare, I always say that, but this time I actually do mean it. And I wanted to talk about the manufactured closeness of Harry and William, because for the longest time, the Royal Rota was having people believe that Harry and William were super close, and then when Kate joined the firm, you know, that they were all super close, and that Meghan was this, you know, this crazy Jezebel came in and wrecked up, you know, that whole trio and made things bad, when in reality they weren't close with Harry to, you know, begin with. He spoke about how he waited for an invite, how he waited for them to have him over for dinner, and that he wanted to be around, and that they never invited him. He spoke about seeing the nanny like walking George in his stroller, and the fact that they were so close. They all lived on the grounds of Kensington Palace, and they lived pretty close to each other, and he never really spent time with them. And to me, it kind of seems like William didn't really start getting involved in Harry's life or became interested in the things that Harry was doing until he met Meghan. That's when it seems like he became like overly involved and hyper vigilant and almost like an helicopter parent, but he's not a parent, he's a brother. It just got really weird. So here's a take that might be a little bit controversial, and it's that Kate and William are mega Karens. Like, I would consider them final boss Karens, like when you're playing a video game when you have to fight that last person in order to win, like they would be final boss Karens. Because it really did seem like they found any reason to be mad or to be offended, and just to, I don't know, just to like really like shit on Harry and Meghan's day. Like that's kind of what it felt like while reading Spare and reading about those interactions between the couples. Like, how are you going to be mad at someone not giving you an Easter gift when they've never given you an Easter gift before? And I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to be like, but what about the baby ring comment? To be honest, I don't think that was that big of a deal. I've heard women who are pregnant and women who have recently given birth had used that term to refer to themselves. Maybe it's different in the UK. Do I think that Meghan should have added that bit about the hormones? No, I don't think she should have said that. But you guys always use that as like a stick to go ahead and beat her with. But you never mentioned the fact that William, a grown man, then stuck his finger in a woman's face. And do not get me started on the bridesmaid dress saga, because that should never have gotten as bad as it did, because the tailor was literally there waiting. It was as simple as going to get the dress altered, not Kate trying to go and dictate what Meghan is doing for her own wedding, and trying to change the place cards at the reception is also major weirdo behavior as well.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.